Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Season 2 of So Tell Me with Phil Bhojwanay, the show where questions about society and its utter stupidity are based on my mood for the day. My guest today is comedian, writer, actor, and performer Eric Toms. Eric used to host the show Reality Binge on Fox, which subsequently led to guest appearances on Good Day LA and Last Comic Standing. As of today, Eric can be seen in independent feature films like Disorientation, in which Eric was nominated for the Jury Award at the New Haven Film Festival. In addition to all that, Eric has been writing and performing commercial campaigns for brands such as 7-Eleven, Netflix, and Cholula Hot Sauce. Welcome to the show, Eric. How are you?
Good, man. How are you doing, sir?
Good, sir. I was looking through your some stuff on YouTube of yours yesterday and some of your shows from the past, and it sort of brought back memories of reality TV, which I was which I remember from, which was sort of at the height of madness at that point, wasn't it? What was almost 9 years ago.
Oh my God! I'm so happy now that we've kind of everyone figured out what kind of a just cycle of bullshit reality television is.
Yeah.
It just because VH1 did an amazing job of they would put on a show and it would feature just 9 terrible people trying to hook up with one other person who used to be famous in the 70s.
That's right.
And then the most terrible person from that show then got their own show. And it just perpetuated itself over and over to the point where just the depravity just became so sad. And I think that's really, it snowballed, and then it leads up to Trump being elected president.
Well, speaking of Trump, are you? I love to get into politics. To be honest with you, are you happy with the decision that America has made for him, for you all rather?
From a comedy standpoint,
It's
no.
Fun. No.
From a scared shitless standpoint, no. This was supposed to be a joke.
Yeah.
And then somewhere along the way, somebody forgot to, I don't know,
unplug it.
Disconnect the server. This is the horrible version of the Matrix that we all landed in, where kind of maybe we should give Hitler another shot. No, this is the worst case scenario. It's as if there was a lab someplace and they just decided, well, we'll put some shark DNA, and then we'll take some monkey cum, and then we'll take just the worst possible combination of things, like broccoli. And then, of course, you get Donald Trump.
Well, if you speak of food, he always reminds me, I always say he has the skin tone of a tandoori chicken, doesn't he?
He really does.
He does.
He really does.
It's hilarious. But at the end of the day, I know everyone's unhappy, but to be fair to everybody, one thing, you just got to give the guy a chance. If he does something amazing for you guys, you just never know how things might pick up. Unlikely, though, but you never know with life.
It is, and I mean, if you're...
I want to rile you up a little bit.
If going to go on the positive side. I have heard this from some people, that this has been, a lot of people have been very kind of sitting by the wayside when it comes to politics. The idea that,
Can you plug this for 7-Eleven?
What's that?
Can you plug this for 7-Eleven?
I can absolutely plug
the
this
Coke,
in for
the Coke,
7-Eleven.
there we go.
It's just like getting a hazelnut coffee from delicious 7-Eleven.
I had to just throw that in for you.
No, it's the idea that I think a lot of people have been sitting on the sidelines when it comes to politics, because the idea is you know what, we'll get somebody in there and they'll be just as bad as the next guy. But now I think this has been a real call to arms for a lot of people realizing, no, politics is something that everyone needs to get involved in, and something that we all need to
participate and partake. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
It came as a shock, didn't it? I mean, that last minute sort of resurgence that he had in the polls, but. Trump aside, I mean, it's getting dull and boring to talk about the same thing. But I do know that what's it, in 2 days he gets into the White House. That'll be the inaugural. That's gonna be pretty interesting. So, but that aside, we'll probably pick up from that sooner or later. But I actually want to, before I get back, I'm just gonna go back and forth with a few things that I want to talk about with you. We spoke. I think I saw an update that you had. I know I saw an update that you had on Facebook about. You were listening to a show prior, I think a couple of days before that, and you posted an update saying something about Hinduism where you wanted to learn a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
And I sent you an email telling you what books you might and could read about and stuff like that. And again, to touch on Trump, because everything is sort of intertwined, he for some reason does not like brown people, but he likes Indian people, and the Hinduism kicks in over there. Now, do you have any take on this? Where do you see the paradox that lies within the man? Because if it's not about skin tone, it's about religion, isn't it?
It's, the strange thing is, I feel like I gotta start off and let you know, I know very little about Hinduism. I'm just now learning about it. But I think the nice thing about Trump and Hinduism is the idea that Hinduism is so vast and so spread out because it's such an old religion. Yeah. It's the idea that Trump can really go in and cherry pick and just like, listen, we're going to take Shiva. He's going to be huge, okay? He's going to be so big. We're going to bring Shiva back. We're going to give him his head. We're going to give him a new body. We're going to give him new tits. He's going to look great. Like that is, I think, the thing that Trump likes about Hinduism is the fact that you can't nail down any doctrine about Hinduism.
No,
because it's just all over. You can be an atheist and be a Hindu at the same time.
Yeah,
which confuses me and also excites me at the same time.
Well, you could be that with any religion, I think, but yeah, it's just
there's quite Christianity. They really require that you believe in Jesus and stuff. Like they're pretty strict about that.
I think the Islam does the same thing, but I mean, if we get into that, we're gonna get so deep into this, it's gonna get a little bit ugly for the audience. It's not for us. That's a topic.
Do it. Let's do it. There's nothing like a couple of guys born in the suburbs to really go off about Islam.
I'm more than happy to talk about it. I mean, if you ask Alex, he knows I can just riff off anything. So, but based on my current mood, I don't think I want to get into it right now. Not just yet, unless you want to.
How you doing, man? What have you been up to?
Not much. Just like you, I've just been sort of hanging around.
See, I don't believe it. You got pictures of you and Jeff Ross up on social media right now, man. You're traveling all the time. I feel like you downplay a lot of your coolness.
No, I don't see the point in bragging about something that isn't a hit just yet. So when it is a proper hit, I will be sure to let everybody know. But yes, I do.
One thing I do have to say, and I don't know if your listeners know this, you have got one kick-ass brown leather jacket, and I know this because every single one of your pictures on social media, you are rocking that same jacket.
Thank you very much, Eric. I appreciate that.
The idea that you were like, listen, no matter what outfit I wear, this jacket, this is going on it.
That I've had the jacket for a couple of years now. That was actually, I'm glad you realized that, because I think I've had the jacket for about 3 or 4 years now, and this was prior to me going to Chicago. I picked it up just for America, and I wore it everywhere I went. You're exactly right. Good eye. Yeah. You have a good eye for stuff like that. But thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
How now it's summer there, right?
It is summer. It is about 35 degrees today, which is in Celsius. You Americans talk about Fahrenheit. That's not 35 Fahrenheit. So that's about almost 90 degrees, I think, as you guys would say.
Yeah, that's not too bad. That's not too bad there. In the summer in Los Angeles, it's about 120.
Wow.
So it gets more Mad Maxy than maybe you guys do.
I thought you were gonna say it's getting more La La Land over there for you right now.
No, although Los Angeles is very gay. So, yeah.
I think Damien Chazelle might be as well. With the films he makes, I enjoy them, but there's something up with him. He needs to be whiplashed.
They are. Oh, I see what you did there. Very clever. Very clever. Nice. He needs to be Transformers 3.
He does.
You know what? The funny thing is, I did see the movie, and strangely, I liked it just for the fact that everything for the last 8 or 9 years has been so dark
Whiplash
and so heavy.
Yeah.
It was kind of nice to watch something that was just upbeat and kind of calm, and like it's just about a guy and a girl, and not everyone dies or discovers that they were raped as a child or something horrible. Like everything is so dark and heavy now. Like they have a new show coming out called Emerald City, and it's a dark take on the Wizard of Oz. Like, you don't need that, man. The Wizard of Oz is supposed to be light and happy. Like, how are you going to do a dark take on the Lollipop Guild?
True.
Like, it's just going to be like these really aggressive homosexual guys. Like, that's not.
I agree. But this leads me to my next point. This probably explains why Jimmy Fallon is #1, because his show is all lighthearted and stuff like that. But it's not funny. I mean, the whole art of interviewing is just gone with Jimmy Fallon. I mean, midway through the interview, the guy's playing games, he's singing and dancing. I don't need that. I really, really don't. I loved it when Rickles came on 2 years ago and tore him apart. The moment right off the bat. Did you see that episode?
Yeah, he was amazing.
The
Rickles
roast
is great.
Killed him right off the bat. I miss David Letterman so much because of stuff like this. I mean, James Corden and Jimmy Fallon, these two guys, I mean, every single time I see them on TV, I'm like, oh my God, I need to turn it off. I don't want to see this. It's not funny.
Well, the strange thing is, it's funny us being on a podcast. I think one of the strange offshoots of podcasts becoming so popular is the fact that it's really, it's brought back to light the art of conversation.
I agree with that. I go with that, yeah.
There are so many people now that they drive around in their cars and you just are literally talking, just listening to people talk. And it's so refreshing and it's so kind of sweet. And I think that this is kind of the better side of the internet, where it's people having meaningful conversations, or, this show, about things that mean a lot to them, and things that are heartfelt.
I'd agree with that. Is that what you do when you drive? You listen to people talk on a podcast?
It's that, or try to convince cops that I'm not on my cell phone. Okay. That is most of the time that I'm in my car.
Well, if that's your biggest problem with driving, being a white guy, wait till you turn brown and grow a 2-day stubble, and then you're fucked the next day. You get stopped for having a beard. I mean, it's not even fair. It's sort of like you jerking off in front of me today because you feel like it. You know what I'm saying? By the way, the audience doesn't know that he was doing that prior to the show.
Me jerking off to you on Skype is the only way I can get hard anymore.
I feel the same way about Alex, actually.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I like to. Can you come in the picture, Alex? This is pretty much like Andy Richter and Paul Schaefer combined, but look at what he looks like.
Oh yeah,
just look at the guy. Take a bow.
He's a great looking guy. I don't need to bow.
So you just combined two really successful guys.
I am. This is my La La Land right here.
There you go.
There I go.
You guys are gorgeous together.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Alex, look at the guy's arms. I mean,
good arms.
Yeah.
Good arms. Yeah.
Those are not muscles. Those are fat. That's so fat. It's like, go do some sumo wrestling, my friend. All right, with a Japanese guy, one of your other boyfriends that you have. Okay. Anyway, speaking of shit like that, now you see, you're getting me in the mood right now. You're turning me on.
Do me a favor. I put a picture of you guys together because I want that to be my Christmas card.
I'd be down for that. It's whether he would, because he has a girlfriend. And
oh, really?
Yeah. I call it the girl with the dragon tattoo. Because she's got a lot of tattoos, though. But we might have to edit that out because I'm not. He might get in trouble for that. Don't worry about that. But no, Alex, I take the piss out of him. Well, let's move on from that. Let me talk about, while we're talking about madness like this, and because you used to be on a reality. I'm stammering like Jimmy Fallon. Look at me today. A reality show before. Now I saw an episode with you and the guy from the Partridge Family, Danny Bonaducci.
Yes.
At one point. Yes. Now, looking back, did you have any? I know the show only lasted for one season, right? But two seasons. Yeah. It matters. Like this show, 2 seasons. It's still running badly. But if you were there any special moments from that show that you sort of look back and say, you know what? If I may, sort of, perhaps the show could have lasted better and done better than what it was. Because you were a very good host, I thought.
Well, thank you.
And I know you did that behind a green screen.
It the whole show itself. Being in entertainment, there's this kind of ridiculous, overhyped idea of like making it, and someday you're going to make it. When in fact, it's any freelancer knows exactly what it's like to be in the entertainment business. You just get a job, and then you finish that job, and then you get another job, and you finish that job, and then you get it, and you're just getting jobs over and over again. There's no ladder that you climb or anything like that.
No.
You're just with these jobs for a short period of time, and what you're really hoping with any job is just that everyone's cool and that you're having a good time, that you get to go to work and you get to have fun. And that show was kind of the equivalent of being in college, because it was an hour-long show that had no business being an hour-long show. It should have been half an hour, if anything.
And you were in your 20s at that point, weren't you?
What's that?
You were in your 20s at that point. You were pretty young.
Yeah. I was like 28. I was a young lad, but
Yeah.
every day going to work was just, everyone was a delight, and we had no money, so it was the sort of thing like, you just grab an intern and be like, do you have a snorkel at your house? You got to bring the snorkel in tomorrow because we're going to film this sketch, And
Yeah.
everything was just flying by the seat of your pants. And luckily, though, everyone was so delightful, and we had such a good time. I mean, could we have done anything to have stayed on the air? Absolutely not, because in 2008, when the financial crisis hit, the entire channel ended up going under. So
Right.
the only way was to go back in time to the 70s and not get people to put so much into to sell short on their mortgages.
Right. But so from those days of hosting to fast forward to 2017 now, what are the differences you've seen in your life sort of moving on in terms of comedy? I mean, have things got better for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the tough things about working on that show was you couldn't even explain to people where it was.
Right.
Like, you have a podcast. You can, I've got a podcast. Great. You go to Phil's website, there it is. Or you go to Facebook or things like that.
Right.
We were on Fox Reality Channel, which was like channel 273.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was half the battle, was the fact that no one had even heard of the channel that we were on. So the nice thing is now, the stuff that I'm working on now is just so much easier to find. Like, I'm doing a film later on this year, and I'm going to be releasing it through my website. Like, that's just something so tangible and so easy to find. It's great. And that's certainly not to knock anything that Fox did, because, I mean, they were fantastic to me. But it's just being that fringe and being that hard to find, there was nothing we really could have done.
No, I agree. I thought that, like I said, I thought you were a magnificent host, and you did what you could do to the best of your ability. I mean, there was nothing more to do aside from that. So that's why I was just wondering. Fast forward now that you mentioned the films and whatnot, I want to talk a little bit about that.
Sure.
What's happening with you as of today, currently, and what's going on with the Facebook page and the Twitter page and stuff like that? What's happening?
Right now, I'm getting ready to direct a short film. And this was actually one of the reasons why I'm doing this short film, is kind of in preparation for a feature that I'm doing later on this year. So this was kind of not a dry run, but I wanted to do something a little bit shorter just to make sure we had all of our ducks in a row when we do the feature later on this year. And the feature, actually, the short that I'm doing is actually very serious. It's not it's by no stretch a comedy. The feature that I'm doing later is a comedy. It's called Bakersfield Noir, and it's a story about a stoner who lives at home with his mom, and it's a classic noir where everybody.
Okay, listen, I don't know how you got my life story together already, but please don't do that. I mean, who tipped him off? Who tipped him off? Was it you? How did you find out?
You know what? Listen. Yeah. You put it online. I found it, and now I've copywritten it, so I own you.
You do own me, and that's why you owe me the part as well.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Sorry. Fly yourself out here. We will put you up at a wonderful like an overpass.
With what I can afford with my downplaying, I'll probably have to take a jet ski and sort of get there by that sort of form of transport. But I'm sorry to cut you off. Please go on with the story of your film, the story of my film rather. Sorry.
So it's just the story of this stoner, and like I said, it's a traditional noir film. So everyone's out for themselves.
Yeah.
His best friend gets killed, in a bad drug deal, and he has to solve the crime because nobody else will. And it's very fun. It's very funny. But the short film that I'm doing beforehand is actually something much smaller. It's when I was 19. One of my best friends at the time, there was this woman, and her name was Katie, and she told me a story about how her and one of her very good friends went through a friend breakup because of a guy.
Right.
And she told me when I was 19 that, it had nothing to do with the guy, which confused me to no end, because I thought, well, you broke up with your friend over this guy. It had to do with the guy, right? And then you fast forward 20 years and you realize, oh, that had nothing to do with it. The guy has nothing to do with it. It was the fact that your friend was willing to treat you like shit over some dude. Like, that's what it was. It was you saw another side to this person. And so I wanted to put that into context of two women working together in a comic book shop. And there's just a guy that comes in. You never see the guy's face. You don't know who the guy is. But he gives the one woman attention, and he doesn't give the other woman attention, and that's it. He doesn't hit on her. They don't start dating. They don't sleep together. He just comes in and he talks to her, and it's just how it affects their relationship in very small ways. And I think everyone's had a time when they've had a riff with somebody,
Sort
and
of like
you
a
don't
double standard.
talk about the riff. You don't acknowledge that it's happening, but it is happening, and it can be very real and very kind of crushing as well.
Yeah.
So like that was the very kind of subtle story that I wanted to tell with these two women.
That was the premise for it's sort of like a double standard, isn't it? When the way people behave. Why to put it succinctly, I guess, would be a double standard. So that sounds like something that makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, it's pretty much a human sort of aspect to life, isn't it? So
Absolutely.
The whole story is
Absolutely.
yeah.
I think there's so many times in life where we don't communicate, and that just ends up running into so many problems.
Yeah, that is the key, the communication. Yeah, absolutely. And what is the title? Do you have a title for this particular movie just yet?
Yeah, it's called Bakersfield Noir.
Sorry, my bad. I wasn't paying attention because there was a bit of a delay earlier. Yep, Bakersfield Noir.
I don't know. So we'll be shooting probably in summer of this year.
Right.
And then I believe we'll probably be releasing in spring of 2018.
All right.
So,
and you have a production company already who's sort of taken this on, or is it just going to be an independent sort of film for yourself and
it'll be an independent film,
Yeah.
but it'll be my production company. So
right.
we've already got a lot of our actors that we're hoping for already in place. A great guy named Larry Clark who does a lot of good work with Steven Soderbergh. If I can name drop.
Wow.
Drop.
Big deal. That's a big deal.
Yeah, not too bad. So it's a good group of. One of the nice things about living in Los Angeles, because I think LA kind of gets a bad rap for being schmaltzy and phony.
Right.
But one of the things that everyone really overlooks is the fact that people in Los Angeles just love movies, man. I mean, they're the ultimate movie nerds that are here.
I love film as well, as do I. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, when you run into somebody and they just kind of casually quote something like Dog Day Afternoon, you're like, oh, you're that's it. We're part of the same tribe.
Your new best friend, yeah, absolutely. Sorry, go on, please go on. Yep.
It's just, that is one of the things that I think gets overlooked here in Los Angeles. And just, when you start talking with film about people, you see people light up and they get so excited. And I love that same sort of thing as well.
Yeah, because it's an escape for people. It takes you into a different universe altogether. The moment those lights dim in the cinema, I guess that's why they call it the magic of the movies, because when those lights dim, there is a different feeling altogether. And I mean, whenever I feel stressed, the first thing I go and do is see a film. And speaking of film, because I'm glad that you brought it up, because I think it brings people together. I went to see. Jackie was playing in the cinema. Natalie Portman is Jackie Kennedy, and I went to see it the other day because I was very, very keen, and I think she's a fantastic actress and whatnot. And when I saw her performance, I was almost mesmerized at how good it was. I thought to myself, this is it is such a good performance that it sidelines away from the presidential focus of the president himself, yet focusing on him, but through the eyes of the First Lady, and how so often we forget the pivotal role that the First Lady always plays in the White House as part of being the president's wife and whatnot. And the performance was just that good, and there was a very human feel to it, and it was about life and people and how things happen and how people deal with their situations as they go on. And there was a spiritual undertone to the story, a religious one, and there were so many things that just sort of gelled together, and the direction and the acting just sort of manifested in such a way that I thought the film was well worthy of an Oscar nomination for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely, Natalie Portman is crazy good. She's
very, very good. So so when you talk about film, and even when you talk about LA, people always say, oh, LA, New York, which one would you go? And had you asked me maybe 20 years ago when I was, 13 or something like that, I would have definitely said New York City for sure. I was in New York last year, and I lived in Chicago for 2 years. If you ask me between the three, where would I stay? I'd tell you Chicago, because Chicago is just it's got a different feel altogether. I love Chicago. But as the years have progressed, I sort of don't have that same feeling for New York anymore. So right now, if I ever ended up in America, I'd probably pick LA because one, it's nice and widespread. I know you have to drive everywhere, but it's got a certain. If you go to the right places, as far as I know, I think it's got a nice feel to it. There's something special about it that sort of brings back. I think like La La Land sort of showcased that he infused the golden age of movies together with the modern day feel of LA, and hence I think that's why he got the nomination.
I think that because you spent 2 years in Chicago, you want to stay away from the East Coast altogether, just because you don't have to shovel snow ever in LA, which is fan-fucking-tastic.
Well, I was born in Singapore, and so I lived there for I live in 3 cities. Okay, I live in Vietnam, in Saigon, Ho Chi Minh. I live in Singapore, and I live in Australia. I spent 4 months in each place, and that's why I like you say, I may downplay my stuff, which I do to some point, because there's no point in bragging about things like this unnecessarily. But with talking about shoveling snow. Ironically, because I've lived in all these cities where they've had summertime most of the time, you sort of get fed up of the summer as well. You want to go and experience some snow. But you're right, eventually forget about the snow. I'm happy with the summer, but not the humidity. That's what bothers me.
Yeah. Well, you would love Los Angeles because it's that nice dry heat. So, like, it gets hot
That's
here.
Exactly what I like,
it's nice, but people take off their clothes. But you're not, like, that sweaty and gross all the time.
No, we definitely don't need that. I mean, I definitely, I think I can see myself in LA at some point. And you know what? I really wish that at some point you end up becoming a big star over there. So when I come over there, I know somebody big. There we go. And I think you will be fine.
You know what is funny? I just got finished watching the catering show with your fellow countrymen, the two Kates, and I think that you should buddy up with them, because I get a feeling those two women are going to blow up here really soon.
Are they? Well, a lot of Australians do very, very well in America, don't they, Alex?
Absolutely, man. Yeah. Oh my God, you guys come over here and you got that crazy accent, and then all of a sudden girls swoon, and I can't keep up with that. I have no idea what's going on. I get scared.
Well, don't be. You're already married, so you're fine. You're safe. Well, you're somewhat safe, at least.
Yeah, exactly. Until I get old and gross, and then my wife figures out, like, hey, there's a bunch of young 20-year-old guys running around here. I think I can get a piece of them.
20-year-old guys.
Until you show up with your brown leather jacket.
Yeah. If I still fit in that at that point. But other than that, I mean, so today, okay, so you've got the films going on, and you're also doing commercials for Netflix, are you? Campaign, sorry.
Yeah, my production company did a commercial for Netflix.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, and it was funny. We had a blast doing that, but the big one that we did a campaign for 7-Eleven coffee, which was fantastic as well. But the weird thing about that job was, we're on set and we're hanging out with a bunch of 7-Eleven executives,
right?
And they just have the strangest stories about 7-Eleven. And none of them are good. Like, none of them are, like, happy stories and just like, hey, and then they got married. It's always had, like this creepy undertone to them. For example, there was they got a call one time that there was a store that was unattended. Somebody went in and there was just nobody there.
Right.
They went in, and this was in the, middle of nowhere. And they went in and they checked the security cameras and they couldn't find anything. And then they went into the bathroom, and the bathroom was just covered in blood. Whoa. There was just blood everywhere. And then the employee was never found ever again. And there's no footage of anyone coming in and hurting anyone or anything. They just disappeared. And every one of the 7-Eleven stories were like that. So, if nothing else, stay the fuck out of 7-Eleven, because they're just filled with murderers, apparently.
That is definitely creepy. That's a weird story. I mean, wow. You sure it wasn't Cholula hot sauce in the bathroom?
It may have been Cholula hot sauce. It may have been delicious Cholula hot sauce.
See how I banded everything: 7-Eleven, Netflix, and Cholula hot sauce in one ad for you. There we go.
Thank you, buddy. Now I get all of my residual checks at once.
You will. And what's happening on your Facebook and Twitter page? Anything new? Any new updates on those?
Let's see. On you know what? No, for the most part, no. I mean, my personal Facebook account, I always make it a point just to make it about jokes.
Right.
There are so many. Like, I don't know about you, man. I don't know how it is in Australia right now, but I know that here in America, you can no longer go on social media in a casual way. You can't just kind of like, oh, I'm just going to see what my friends are up to on Facebook. Like now it is just a call to arms, and every single update and every single tweet is about Trump, his cabinet members, new policies.
It's annoying.
And so, and it is weird to think like we're the old men when it comes to social media, because once upon a time, like social media just used to be for fun.
Right. Absolutely.
And now it's the sort of thing. Now it's all about organizing, get-togethers to try and make sure that your congressman is voting for the right issues, and you're trying to put together a protest for women's rights.
It's become a campaign page, hasn't it?
Absolutely, it's a giant campaign page, and so there's a lot of times you really need to brace yourself before you just even open up, any sort of Facebook.
Honestly, when I get on Facebook right now, I think I'm just talking to myself, and I do apparently, because I just get on Messenger, and I get on It's the page is left on, but I'm not on it. It's just there. I can't be bothered, like you said, because it's exactly what you said. And when I see updates like that getting like 150 likes, I'm like, someone had lunch, you got 20 likes for that. Who gives a fuck about your lunch? Look, I have other stuff to do. Forget your lunch. Go do something else.
There is, by all means, there is, I think there is a balance that everyone needs to strike between trying to save the world and then showing me more pictures of your stupid, ugly kids.
Absolutely.
Because I don't need to see them anymore. I get what they look like, and I'm really happy that they took off their pants and found their penis.
And their face hasn't changed in one day, has it? So what's the big deal? Why are you showing me a picture the very next day? Who cares?
Exactly.
Who cares?
Exactly.
But yeah. What
about let's turn the tables on you. What have you been up to, man? How have you been doing? You've been moving around a lot lately. Did the cops finally find you?
No, the cops haven't found me yet. But different TV networks have. So I've been traveling because of that. I've been, like I said, in Vietnam for the most part the last 4 months, consulting with a TV station over there. We're just developing a show for them. And nice. I direct it, so I'll keep you up posted on that. The moment it is a big deal. Until then,
directing.
Yep.
This is directing now.
Big directing is always what I wanted to do. I mean, at some point it was. Look, I create the content for them because it's in Vietnamese. I can't host, so I took a back seat, and they asked me to sort of direct the show. So I said fine. So we're just in the midst of shooting a pilot, and if it picks up, we'll have a show.
Now, if it picks up, are you in Vietnam then?
I will be based in Vietnam then, yes, absolutely. And it's a wonderful city. The people are wonderful. And I always thought, I'll tell you honestly, the reason why I did that was because there was some offers in America and Australia that came up for work, and I said no because I felt it would be the same thing as doing everything else that I'd done prior. Yeah. The reason why I do this I don't even consider myself a comedian. If anything, I consider myself more of a broadcaster than anything else.
If it makes you feel better, your fans don't consider you a comedian either.
No, absolutely, you're right. They think I'm just this guy who has a show, and it's so and how he got a show was he's probably just using his using money that he's found on the road or something like that. I mean, it's just that bad. But I thought to myself that in Vietnam they want to know about comedy, they want to know about things like that. Why not bridge the gap between different cities where everybody can come together and watch a show that's different and someone enjoys? That's why I said yes to it. I mean, I think as performers, you don't really a part of you does this for yourself, but for the most part you do it for the other people who you want to make happy. It's for the audiences. And that's the main reason why I took it up. I don't want to say too much about it until it's a hit, and I'm hoping it is. And when it is, or rather if it is, you'll be the first to know about it.
Can I speak to you now, not as Eric, your guest? Can I speak to you as Eric, your fan?
Absolutely. Oh my.
What is this going to do between you and Alex? Because I feel like this is just going to rip you guys apart.
You know what? It's funny you asked that because excuse me. There was one a few months ago we discussed this. I said, Alex, if I ever became big enough, would you come work for me? Because he knows I'm very temperamental. I could at some point throw a chair at him, but I would never do that. I'm just saying that. But
how with the size of that guy's arms?
He is two things about him. Three things about him. In fact, is that one, I can't do this show without him because he is the best audio engineer and guy who can edit who I know. he knows I'm very precise with what I want, so he puts up with my nonsense of asking 3 or 4 times what to do. And 3, I told him that I offer him the best position in overseas as the head editor or audio engineer or whatever, and you have 3 other guys under you. Well, not under you physically, but if you want that, that's up to him. But and you can be the boss, and how I treated you and told you what to do, you can tell them what to do. So Alex and my relationship is going to be stable, but I think by that point he'll be married with children, and his kids are gonna leave him at some point anyway. So he might end up coming back to. Would you leave Australia, Alex? Look, he's sleeping. He's passed out. The guy is sitting over there having an apple and sleeping. He's dead. I mean, where's Eve?
No,
Adam and Eve.
That's him quietly mourning the idea of losing Phil. That's what he is. He's just inside tormented, just like, what am I going to do without Phil? I guess just get a rope and then go out to the shed and end it all.
You know what? He actually tries doing that every night as it is, and it's not successful enough yet. Not successful enough. It will be a success soon. But yeah, that's what's happening with me right now, and I appreciate you saying that you were a fan. Sarcasm or not, either way, I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. No, absolutely. I think that, the important thing, kind of like I said before, it's just, I feel like you're one of the people who's, bringing back the art of conversation as well. And so I applaud everyone who does that, man. That's fantastic. It is hard work.
That's very nice. Very kind of you. Appreciate
and
it.
You do it well and with a lot of dick jokes.
Well, look at the guest I have. What do you expect? You expected something better than that? But Eric, look,
that's what we're operating at. That's kind of the level right there. Yeah.
I knew what I was getting into when I had you when I said you were going to be in the show. I already knew the kind of quality of material that would be going on. But you have toned down since back in the day. That much I will say. I know that from just by looking at your stuff.
Oh, thanks, buddy. I like to believe I've gotten more refined, but the truth of the matter is that just my children have sucked the lifeblood out of me. So now the only excitement that I get anymore is pornography and then hard alcohol.
Oh my! What about cigarettes? None of that?
No more. I'm all done.
You're done.
I can't do cigarettes anymore because they make me cough whenever I'm smoking meth.
Alex would know a lot about that. Actually, you guys should meet if you want to talk about Breaking Bad stuff. He's your guy.
There we go.
He's smoking up right now.
Love it.
Look at the gall of this guy. He's smoking up right now in front of me. All right, but speaking of that, before you want to say something? Go ahead. Jesus, what was that? Did you want to say something? Sorry.
Oh no, I'm good. I'm just getting into. I was just thinking about smoking meth and actually talking about Breaking Bad with Alex. That would have been awesome.
That would be very good. But so the kids take up a lot of your time today, and the wife, kids, so family life is good. And
family life is very good. Man.
Yeah,
it's very good. It's funny, like when you have my kids are 4 and almost 7 at this point.
Wow.
And when you have kids that age, every single old person comes up to you and says, "This is the best time of your life," and they're kind of right because your kids don't know what an idiot you are yet, and they think that you're the strongest guy in the world, and they just want to cuddle you, and there's no you don't have to worry about picking them up late at night from some girl's house, or they broke into somebody's house and threw a party. There's none of that yet. It's just good time at this age, so I'm trying to enjoy it as much as I can.
Well, I think that sounds like the appropriate response. So I'm glad to hear that. But before I head off with and close out the show with you, it's amazing how we've talked for 40 minutes already, and it's been such a wonderful conversation thus far.
40 minutes?
40 minutes, yeah. It says up right there. I always have a show. Well, I hope to always have a show, but I have a last question on the show all the time that I ask before I sign off to my guests, and that is, as a society, what were we before? What are we now? And what are we going into the future?
That is a very astute question, sir. What were we before? I feel that we were splintered.
Mm-hmm.
What are we now? I feel like we're boiling. And what are we going to be? Hopefully congealed.
Best
the reason
answer
being
yet.
For those is just the idea that, before it's everyone was so splintered. We were in small factions and tribes.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're all starting to come together, But the idea is like now we have to rub shoulders with each other all the time, and
Yeah.
everyone's just kind of angry and trying to find their place and figuring out just the language in which to speak to everyone. I'm hoping in the next, I don't know, 100 years or so, everyone will just calm down and we can just sit down and have a sandwich and enjoy one another.
Perhaps in a different realm that might happen. Perhaps. You just never know with life. But
I was going to say there's a fantastic anthropological idea, and it's called the 21st century bottleneck. And this is the first time in the history of the world that we have enough food to feed everyone, and we have enough weapons to kill everyone.
yep, I
So-
go along with that.
This century, we will decide which one of those wins out. Either everyone will be fed and everyone will be happy, or we'll just just destroy everyone.
It's almost like what side do you pick, right? What side is society going to pick? That's exactly
Yeah.
what it is. But yeah, I agree with you on that. And on that note, my friend, it was wonderful talking to you. Thank you for coming on the show. And I
Thank
will
you very
chat.
much.
No worries. And I will chat with you soon. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye.
Take care, Eric. Thank you. Cheers.